As I understand it, we're trying to prevent World War III.
Let's start with inverting entropy. The second law of thermodynamics states that a closed system's entropy always increases. Entropy can be thought of as a statistical mechanic that may drive the arrow of time as we perceive it. Order to disorder, cause and effect. There are many more ways for matter to become disordered than ordered, and so an iterative pattern, congruent with what we perceive as direction, emerges. The process of inversion flips these probabilities, such that an inverted object has many more ways to be ordered rather than disordered, therefore reversing its entropy and our subsequent perception of cause and effect. Let's look briefly at what we know about turnstiles. Turnstiles always operate with a pair of subjects, one inverted subject and one normal subject. From a normal perspective, it would appear that the two subjects disappear entirely from our future as they travel to the past. Conversely, if an inverted subject enters the turnstile, both subjects would suddenly emerge into our present, never existing in our past. One of the dangers noted by Wheeler is that the two should never make contact or risk annihilation. The turnstiles are designed to prevent the two subjects from overlapping during the process.
She devises a method for inverting the world, becomes convinced that by destroying us, they're destroying themselves. She rebels, splitting the algorithm into 9 sections and hiding them the best place she can think of.
The past. Here, now.
There are 9 nuclear bombs. 9 bombs.
The algorithm is not the actual device to invert the world. It is merely the formula needed to create it. It only exists in physical form, so that it cannot be copied or emailed or leave a paper trail that future travelers can trace. Ignorance is our ammunition. Destroying it in her time would leave evidence of its existence, something which can be used to trace the moment and time of her actions, which would instantly prompt action to retrieve the remains. She knows that as long as she can invert the algorithm, nothing can be done to change that, and with no physical evidence or debris to trace it, it would soon be beyond their reach. Their only hope was to recruit someone in the distant past, someone with enough greed and ambition. We must assume that any actual world device behaves significantly different than a typical turnstile. For example, if the planet were to be inverted, surely there is an inverted counterpart already in the universe that we would perceive, and any such planet coexisting alongside ours would certainly be catastrophic. And clearly we cannot build a planet-sized turnstile to fit the Earth, so it must not need a turnstile for its inversion process at all, and as such it does not need an inverted counterpart. So here is another thing that we should rule out as a necessity of a world device.
Because the environment's entropy flows in our direction, we dominate. They're always swimming upstream.
The effects caused by an inverted object are in constant struggle with the dominant entropy around it, and in an unspecified amount of time, these effects seem to be overtaken by the dominant flow of time, seemingly erasing the effect from existence into the past. But viewed from the opposite perspective, it would appear to unerase or manifest, such as bullet holes or car mirrors.
What's the algorithm do?
Inversion, not objects or peoples, the world around us.
The future claims that we in the present have made the planet unlivable. One fear may be that if the entire world is inverted, all the actions of the present to past suddenly find themselves as the bullet hole, and are now fighting the new dominant direction of entropy, and suffer the same fate.
Everyone and everything that's ever lived, destroyed instantly.
If we're to understand the future's intentions, as unlikely as it may be, we must understand how such an act would benefit them. Let us explore some possibilities. If the entire world, and everything living on it, were to be inverted, there would be no perceivable change, as every observer would be relatively moving in the same temporal direction. But we know this cannot happen, because a world device would not generate an inverted counterpart. And if the world were inverted as we know it, without a counterpart, without inverting people, it would disappear into the past, leaving them drifting off into space. In order for the act to benefit anyone to perceive it, the world would need to invert, but into our future, such that its past becomes the universe's objective future. It is believed that the world device was designed to do just that, inverts the world, but not the people or objects at the moment of activation. Imagine the point of activation becoming a turnstile with only one door, a blue door, a device that instantaneously inverts the world and becomes the point of a U-turn that never comes out of the other side, a device powerful enough to reset the initial state of their own world line. Or so they hope. While this is a huge risk with unknown cataclysmic and paradoxical implications, they decided to risk it. Since the harmful effects done by people of the past find themselves suddenly on the weaker end of the struggle, their effects will come undone, and any effects performed by the future people will persist, as it is in line with the dominant flow of the universal entropy. The new future now overtakes this previous past, undoing any and all events, like the tide eroding a sandcastle.
This reversing the flow of time. Doesn't us being here now mean it never happens? Or we stop them?
This is the risk the future has desperately decided to bet against. It is believed that destroying your past will destroy your future. But some believe it is impossible, that whatever happened happened, and is locked in place and cannot be altered. The physical laws of the universe will simply not allow the chance to even arise. For if you killed your past, how could you go back in time to commit the act in the first place?
If that universe can exist, we don't live in it.
Herein lies the reality which we see unfold. What's happened, happened. The future waged war upon the past, and lost. This chain of cause and effect has manifested, and will always be as it is. Any action to alter events are already taken into account of in the block universe model. This is an anthropic principle approach, meaning we find ourselves in a universe that did not get destroyed, because we are here to observe it.
In a parallel worlds theory, we can't know the relationship between consciousness and multiple realities.
The hypothesis of multiple realities is something to consider, but it is impossible to know which one you live in. Suffice it to say, we should not leave things up to chance. It is not an excuse to do nothing, for to do nothing may guarantee a failure in another way, a way you may not have foreseen, perhaps something equally unpleasant.
What do you think we're seeing?
The detritus of a coming war.